Two models. One scores 90 on a famous benchmark, the other scores 85. So the first one is smarter, right? Pick it. That is what a leaderboard is for. But here is something that should bother you. Every few months, a new model tops the chart with a record score, and yet when people actually put it to work, it is not always the one that feels better, follows instructions better, or makes fewer mistakes on their real tasks. The number went up. The experience did not always follow. In the last episode of the build season, you learned to measure your own AI with a test set and a judge. This episode is the uncomfortable sequel, because the test you built and the leaderboard you trust can both lie to you, not because someone cheated, but because of a law of measurement itself. Let us see how a number drifts away from the truth, and how to build a number you can actually trust. Start with the deepest reason, a law that has nothing to do with AI. Imagine a city pays its hospitals based on how few patients wait more than 4 hours in the emergency room, a sensible measure of a good hospital. But once that number becomes the target everyone is judged and paid on, something rots. Staff start parking patients in corridors so the clock does not officially start. The waiting time number gets beautiful. The actual care does not. This is Goodhart's law, and the one-line version is worth memorizing. When a measure becomes a target, it stops being a good measure. Read that again. The measure does not just get noisy. It actively stops tracking the thing you cared about because all the effort now flows into the number, not the goal. A benchmark is exactly this kind of measure. It is a proxy, a stand-in for real intelligence, real usefulness. The day the whole field starts optimizing to climb that one chart, the chart begins, by this law, to drift away from the very skill it was built to track. The score and the skill come apart. Goodhart tells us the score can drift. Now the most concrete way it drifts, and it is almost funny. To score a benchmark, you need the questions and the answers. To train a model, you feed it a huge slice of the internet, and benchmarks live on the internet. So the exam, with its answer key, can quietly end up inside the training data. The model does not learn the skill. It partly memorizes the test. The standard name for this is contamination, and the score it produces is inflated, like a student who saw the exam the night before. How do you catch it? You write a brand new exam, same difficulty, same style, questions the model cannot possibly have seen. Researchers did exactly this with a famous grade school math benchmark. They hand-built a fresh, matched version and retested. The honest, frontier models held their scores almost perfectly, which tells you the underlying progress is real, not fake. But the models that had quietly overfit the old test dropped in the worst cases by several percentage points. Their skill had not changed, only the memorization fell away. And this is not a fringe worry. In early 2026, one major lab announced it would stop reporting its models on a flagship coding benchmark. 2 reasons. First, when they audited the cases their models failed, most of those tests turned out to be broken or unfair, so the score was partly measuring noise. And second, the deeper one for us. They found strong evidence that the frontier models had been trained on the benchmark's own solutions. In their own words, roughly, a higher score no longer reflected better real-world coding. It increasingly reflected how much the model had already seen the test. The benchmark still exists. They just stopped trusting their own number on it. When the people who top the chart walk away from it, you should listen. Even a clean benchmark can mislead you because of what you are not shown. Picture a public arena where models are ranked, and imagine you are a big lab. Nothing stops you from quietly testing many private versions of your model behind the scenes, 20, 30 variants, each tuned a little differently. Then you publish only the single best one. The leaderboard shows you a champion. What it hides is the graveyard of versions that did worse, that you never see. Researchers studying one popular arena argued that exactly this was happening, that some providers tested dozens of private variants and disclosed only the winner, which inflates their apparent standing. The details are still debated, and the arena pushed back. But the lesson does not depend on the dispute. It is a basic trap of measurement. If you take enough shots and only report the bullseye, you will look like a sharpshooter even if you are not. A single top-of-the-chart score with the failures hidden is not evidence of reliable skill. It is the best of many tries dressed up as the typical result. So whenever you see a leaderboard, ask the quiet question: how many attempts am I not being shown? There is one more reason public charts go stale. Once a benchmark is famous, the whole field optimizes against it until almost everyone scores near the top. The number saturates. It stops separating a great model from a merely good one, and the community has to keep inventing harder successor tests just to see daylight between models again. So if the public charts can drift, get memorized, hide their failures and saturate, what number can you trust? Only one. A number measured on data that nobody, including you, trained on. A held-out test, private and fresh, built from your own real tasks. Now picture the whole problem as geometry, and this is the heart of the episode. Draw two bell curves. The blue one is the model's true skill, what it can actually do on real, unseen work. The amber one is its benchmark score, the proxy. When a benchmark is honest and uncontaminated, the two curves sit right on top of each other. The score is the skill. But now start optimizing for the test. Train on things that look like it, tune to climate, let contamination creep in. Watch the amber score curve slide to the right, higher and higher, while the blue true skill curve barely moves. A gap opens between them, and that red gap is Goodhart made visible. The model looks more and more brilliant on paper, while what it can really do has hardly budged. Here is the fix in one move. Take a fresh, held-out test the model has never seen and remeasure. The amber curve snaps back and lands on the blue one again. The illusion collapses, and you are looking at the truth. That snapback is what a trustworthy evaluation actually does. The only score worth believing is the one measured on ground no one has stood on before. But there is a catch hiding inside your own held-out test. Last season, to score open-ended answers, we hired an AI to be the judge. The trouble is, the judge is also a model, and it carries its own biases like a ruler that is slightly bent. The most startling one is position bias. Show the same judge two answers, A then B, and it leans toward one slot, the first or the second, regardless of which answer is actually better. Swap the order and its verdict can flip. A bent ruler reads a different length depending on which end you measure from. There are more. Judges tend to prefer the longer, wordier answer even when it says nothing extra, and they tend to favor outputs that sound like their own family of model. So how do you straighten the ruler? 3 moves. First, swap and average. Score every pair both ways, A then B and B then A, and average so the position bias cancels out. Second, do not trust one judge. Use a panel of several different models and let them vote, which is both more robust and, surprisingly, cheaper than calling one giant judge over and over. And third, the move people skip and absolutely must not. Before you trust your judge on thousands of cases, validate it like any classifier. Hand-label a small set yourself, run the judge on those same cases, and measure how often it agrees with you. That agreement, ideally corrected for lucky guesses, is what researchers report as a metric called Cohen's kappa, but the idea is simpler than the name. If your judge does not match human judgment on the cases you can check, you have no business trusting it on the ones you cannot. You validate the measuring instrument before you measure with it. One last trap, and it is the one that bites hardest the moment you trust an AI to actually do things, not just answer questions. Back in the build season, we saw why a long task is fragile within a single run. Each step has some chance of being right, and you multiply those chances down the chain. So a 10-step task with 95% per step reliability already drops to around 60%. That is errors compounding inside one run. But there is a second, separate axis, and it is the real wall for agents. Run the entire task again from scratch and again. Does it succeed every single time? This is the difference between two metrics that look almost identical and mean opposite things. Pass at K asks in K tries, did it succeed at least once? That is an OR gate. Generous. It only needs one lucky run, which is why coding benchmarks love it and why it flatters. Pass to the K, the consistency metric, asks the brutal question. In K independent runs, did it succeed all K times? That is an AND gate, and the bar rises fast. On one well-known agent benchmark, a strong model that looks impressive on a single try succeeds on all 8 runs of the same customer service task less than a quarter of the time. Not because the task got harder, because consistency is a far higher bar than capability. A model that can do something is not the same as a model you can rely on to do it every time. For real, automated work, the only number that matters is the AND gate. Can it do this again and again without you watching? So do the benchmarks lie? Not exactly. They drift. A score is only a proxy, and the instant the whole world optimizes for it, Goodhart's law pulls it away from real skill. Contamination inflates it when the exam leaks into training. Saturation flattens it once everyone scores near the top. The leaderboard flatters it by hiding the failed attempts. The AI judge bends it with biases you can measure and correct. And a single lucky pass disguises a model that is not yet reliable enough to do the job every time. None of this means the progress is fake. The gains are real. It means the measurement is hard, and a number with no rigor behind it tells you almost nothing. So here is the evaluation that actually works in 5 honest moves. Build your own held-out test from your real tasks, on data no one trained on. Validate your judge against human labels before you trust it and swap and average to straighten the ruler. And for anything that acts in the world, measure the AND gate, consistency across many full runs, not a single hopeful success. Do that, and you stop chasing a leaderboard and start measuring the truth. Because in the end, the goal was never to win the benchmark. It was to build something that actually works.